So we have made it through most of the NFL offseason. We're a few weeks away, or really close to a few days away from the 2026 NFL draft. So I wanted to kind of go in and check in on how every NFL team's offseason has looked so far. Basically, drop them in a tier list. Did they get better or worse this offseason? And yes, the draft can change a ton of this because some of these teams have double-digit picks to address certain needs. So I may drop those teams in the 50-50 tier, and we also may see some like post-June 1 cuts, some post-June 1 trades. We could still see like an AJ Brown trade, who's going to trade for like Anthony Richardson and stuff like that. So some teams are also going into 2027 as it's going to be a developmental year. Maybe they have their eyes set on the 2027 NFL draft. And let's get into this today. I do believe that we're going to go in alphabetical order as well. So if you want to maybe jump to your favorite team or not, the Arizona Cardinals, yeah, they did not get better this offseason. They did add a ton of guys throughout free agency. You can see there's a ton of quantity here. You add Gardner Minshew. You sign Isaac Seumalo from the Pittsburgh Steelers, Tyler Algier, Kendrick Bourne, Jack Gibbons, like some fine on the margin moves. And this team is going to have the third overall pick in this year's draft. They also have their second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, and seventh. So they have only their picks in every single round, so they might add a Francis Mayanella. They could add an Arvell Reese, a David Bailey. We'll see, but they let go of Kyler Murray this offseason. You end up like not bringing back any of these, I would say, rotational offensive linemen. You lose Jalen Thompson, but I just think that's the big thing is Kyler Murray. You do bring in a new head coach in Mike LaFleur, and you may disagree with me, and you can actually make an argument. The Cardinals, who were so bad at 3-14 last year, got better. I don't really think that's going to be the case. I don't think I'm totally sold on this offense right away. Now, McBride, hopefully a breakout year for Marvin Harrison and Michael Wilson can move me. I just think you hit such a downgrade from Kyler Murray to Jacoby Brissett and Gardner Minshew. Even though we saw Jacoby most of the 2025 NFL season, I still don't think they got better. I just don't think it's been a positive offseason for the Cardinals in terms of them making the playoffs next year, but you never know. And okay, so they move on from Kirk Cousins. You bring in Tua. This team does not own their first round pick in the 2026 NFL draft. I have no idea what's going on with James Pierce Jr. if there's going to be a heavy suspension. You lose Caden Ellis. You lose Tyler Algier. You're not going to really lose sleep over that. You lose Darnell Mooney. You bring in Olamide Zaccheaus. A lot of, I think, one-year deals. I don't really think the Falcons got that much better this offseason, and there could be like an age regression. Yes, I guess you bring in Tua, who should be better than Michael Penix next year. I don't think that really moves me too much either. And the fact that I know that they're not getting a first-round talent in the draft hurts them a ton as well. Doesn't mean if I throw them in, no, they're going to be bad next year. Like the Falcons can still win the NFC South. Honestly, though, they went from Raheem Morris to Kevin Stefanski. So I might like that. They bring in Ian Cunningham from the Bears. They give Matt Ryan, not like a fake job, but a weird job just because the Bears do not get a comp pick from them getting Ian Cunningham to go to the Atlanta Falcons. Maybe they're a 50-50 team. I think I'm going to throw them in no right now, but I could definitely change my mind because I also want to take into account them bringing in Kevin Stefanski, which I'm a fan of moving forward. I just don't think Tua is going to make them that much better next year. And like I said, you might not really do a whole lot this offseason. Doesn't mean you're going to be a bad team next year. For Baltimore, so Baltimore ends up going from John Harbaugh to Jesse Minter, which I think is going to be better for them. They do lose Tyler Linderbaum, but they bring in John Simpson. They obviously bring in Trey Hendrickson as well. They do lose Charlie Kohler, which I think is going to be a loss. Isaiah Likely is going to be a loss. They keep their first round pick. So I'm going to say that the Ravens, they're 50-50 to me right now because I do think you're going to see that, obviously, that massive overhaul in the coaching staff. I'm excited about Declan Doyle, which might make them a yes. It's just like you just lost Tyler Linderbaum, not the most important position on the football field, but you lost a lot of depth pieces. Outside of that, they really couldn't do a ton in free agency after having their eyes set on Max Crosby and then Trey Hendrickson. But I don't think, like, Tyler Linderbaum is going to be better than John Simpson next year, but I don't think that's like the biggest downgrade in the world in terms of like Kyler or Jacoby Brissett. Like I said, I think they're going to miss Gilman. They're going to miss Kohler. They're going to miss Keaton Mitchell. And I think they're going to miss Isaiah Likely as well. But I think just getting Jesse Minter feels like a breath of fresh air. They have their draft picks. Maybe they're a 50-50 team. Maybe it's just how the draft goes right now because you do lose Tyler Linderbaum. For Buffalo, I don't really know if Buffalo got that much better this offseason. So you lose David Edwards, which is pretty much your biggest loss. Now you still have Deion Dawkins and Connor McGovern on the offensive line. I'm not really moved by Bradley Chubb or DJ Moore. And then I think there's some like internal age regression as well. They're picking at the end of the first round. I don't really think Buffalo got that much better this offseason. Like I get trading for DJ Moore is going to help out your receiving core, which was abysmal last year. And I get like Bradley Chubb helps out your non-existent pass rush because Joey Bosa just wasn't effective enough for them in 2025. I just don't know if it's an upgraded Joe Brady who's already on their staff. So it's really hard for me to project that Joe Brady is going to be a better head coach than Sean McDermott next year when the offensive mind is not changing at all. For Carolina, so Carolina, I'm going to say probably got better this offseason. They paid big time money on the defense in Phillips and Lloyd. I love the pickup for Rasheed Walker at just $4 million. Now they unfortunately lose Rico Dowdle. Cade Mays ends up going to Detroit as well. But I think just what they hit on the defensive side of the field, and shout out to these ads because I literally pay for I paid like a thing on tier list to not have the ads, and I'm getting the ads, which is, it feels illegal. And next up, we have the Chicago Bears. I mean, once again, like this could be more so internal development for the Chicago Bears. Like you expect another leap potentially from Caleb Williams and potentially from Luther Burden and Colson Loveland. They do lose like all their safeties. They cut Tremaine Edmonds, which they may think is better. Drew Dahlman retires. You add Kobe Bryant. I don't really know if the Bears really got that much better this offseason in terms of like external additions. I think they're going to be a 50-50 team right now because I do think you can look at that internal development. I'm not only going off that whatsoever, but I do think like the safeties isn't going to be the end all be all. This defense was disappointing last year. I don't really think they added enough to the defense. I think they're a team that can sway one way with the NFL draft. For the Cincinnati Bengals, yeah, they got better this offseason 100%. I mean, they go out and they sign Boye Mafe from the Seattle Seahawks. You bring in Brian Cook. You bring in Jonathan Allen. I mean, these aren't insane moves. I mean, Boye Mafe is a pretty big signing. Same with Brian Cook. But you didn't really lose anybody too important outside of me and you lose Hendrickson and Joe aside. Maybe you do. I'm talking myself out of that. Oh, man, because I guess you signed a worse pass rusher, but a cheaper pass rusher. You lose Joseph Asai, which I don't think you're going to lose too much sleep over as Hendrickson, but it's not like Hendrickson was that much of an impact guy for them last year as well. Okay, I might actually say the Bengals got worse this offseason. I mean, they're going to have the 10th overall pick. I think they're another 50-50 team as well because they're going to most likely add like a Mansour Delane or Caleb Downs, or maybe it's an edge rusher, who knows, where that can excite me going forward. And their defense was awful last year, but it's not like Hendrickson was a part of their defense. So hopefully they sign guys that will actually play for them. For the Cleveland Browns, a team that ended up going in a different direction head coaching wise, they end up getting Todd Monken. Jim Schwartz is no longer there. Obviously, Kevin Stefanski is in Atlanta. Jerome Ford, Wyatt Teller, like some minimum signings. They bring in Titus Howard in the trade market as well. I mean, they bring in Zion Johnson, who clearly the Chargers didn't like to bring him back. Elton Jenkins, they bring in as well, who clearly Green Bay didn't want to pay going forward. Quincy Williams, I don't really know if they got that much better this offseason. They just had all these offensive linemen. I'm not really too confident to say that they got better. I don't think Cleveland's going to be good next year. I just don't. And maybe that's a hot take, and I don't think any of those older offensive lineman signings move me, and I wouldn't be surprised if like some of these guys are not even on their roster next year. They have the 6th overall pick. We'll see if they go offensive line. We'll see if they go receiver or somebody like that. For the Dallas Cowboys, I mean, you trade away Oso Odigizua. You sign Jalen Thompson. They also have the 12th overall pick in the draft. I mean, you didn't really lose anybody outside of Odigizua, but are we like confident that the Cowboys really got better this offseason? I don't really think they did. I mean, I think you're hoping just at full strength next year and you add a little bit more throughout the defensive draft that this team is, or defensive side of the field throughout the draft, that this team will be better. I think they're a 50-50 team as well. I'll throw them there. I think like that could come down to the NFL draft, and you do have 2 first-round picks. So that gives me more confidence about them, honestly, over Cincy, Cleveland, or excuse me, Cincy, Chicago, and Baltimore, since they're most likely going to get, hopefully for them, like a stud DB at 12. It could be Downs, Delane, McCoy, Thieneman, and then one of the 8 or so pass rushers that are going to go in round 1 throughout the draft. Denver, I'm going to go with no. I don't really think Denver got better this offseason. I think, once again, you're hoping on that internal development. Thank God they went out and traded for Jalen Waddle, which I will take into consideration here. You lose Franklin Myers. I mean, Dre Greenwald, you're ready to let go. You bring back a lot of your internal guys. I'm not really sure how I feel about $8 million guaranteed to J.K. Dobbins, who never stays healthy for a full season. Like, what does that make me think about R.J. Harvey moving forward? I think they're a no right now, and they don't have a first-round pick, but they obviously have Jalen Waddle, but I don't think in the grand scheme of things they really got that much better. Detroit, another team that didn't really have a lot of flexibility this offseason because of their high cap sheet, but I like the addition of Cade Mays, 100%. They lose Alex Anzalone to the Buccaneers. They lose Amik Robertson. I think you're fine with that. And then the offensive line will be probably addressed with the 17th overall pick. I mean, like, what do I value more, Cade Mays or Alex Anzalone. Did Detroit get better this offseason? I don't mind some of these like one-year deals. Like you trade away David Montgomery, sure, but you sign Isaiah Pacheco. You're going to have 2 fourth-rounders. You don't have a third-rounder, I think, because they gave up one maybe for Isaac Tesla last draft. For them, I think it's another. I think they got better. I think the Cade Mays signing is going to be huge for them. I think they're going to address offensive line at 17, and they'll be cooking there. For Green Bay, I don't want to say no. Like, I don't know if I feel better about Green Bay right now than I did previously. I don't really know how I feel about Javon Hargrave, who got cut 1 year into his deal in Minnesota last year, and you gave him $11 million. You had a lot of like minimum signings as well. They just traded away Dontavian Wicks. I mean, you're not losing sleep over Malik Willis because you have Jordan Love. I mean, Romeo Doubs, I don't think you're losing sleep over either, but you lose Quay Walker, Elton Jenkins, Rasheed Walker. They trade away Rashawn Gary. They don't own a first-round pick. I don't really think Green Bay got better this offseason either, so I'm going to go with no. And they brought in Jonathan Gannon, right, as their defensive coordinator going forward. I could be wrong there. And next up, we have the Houston Texans, who traded away Titus Howard this offseason. They go out and get David Montgomery, which is honestly a big addition for them just because their running game was not good last year, and who knows what happened to Joe Mixon. They didn't really need to go out and get Reed Blankenship, but it's a nice addition. They bring in Wyatt Teller, Braden Smith, which I think could be better options than Titus Howard if these guys can stay healthy. Another team that I wouldn't be surprised if they trade out of the first round at 28 like they've done or they did last year. I think the Texans got better this offseason, though. We still have no idea what's going to be the case around CJ Stroud. Is he going to be their franchise quarterback moving forward? I mean, it's a big year. It's a pivotal year for CJ Stroud here in Houston, and we'll see what ends up happening. For the Indianapolis Colts, I'm going to go with no as well. Like, so you bring back Daniel Jones, you bring back Alec Pierce, you trade away Michael Pittman, you lose Braden Smith in free agency, you lose Kwity Paye to the Raiders as well. I mean, this team didn't really go out and make the biggest splash. I don't know if Michael Clemens really makes them that much better. Arden Key will probably be a little bit more impactful next year. Like a lot of re-signings, but they just lost a lot. And like Nick Cross, I think, is a big loss as well. And this is another team that doesn't own their first round pick from the Sauce Gardner trade. So yeah, I'm going to go with no with the Indianapolis Colts. The Jacksonville Jaguars, another team in the AFC South that does not own their first round pick. I mean, what do you think? They just haven't really done a lot. And I get why. Like, they didn't want to pay big time money for a running back or an off-ball linebacker. So it's clearly the way Gladstone is thinking going forward. I have no idea what to believe if Travis Hunter is going to be a two-way player next year, because Ian Rappaport said kind of no, and then Travis Hunter quote tweeted and said, what are you talking about? So yeah, I'm going to go with no there with the Jaguars. So for Kansas City, addition by subtraction, right? Jawan Taylor no longer on the team. You add Kenneth Walker, finally a dynamic playmaker for Patrick Mahomes. You bring in Gilman as some safety depth. You bring back Travis Kelce, but you trade away Trent McDuffie. You lose Jalen Watson. You lose Brian Cook. You lose Leo Chanel. Like, that's a lot, man. That really is a lot. Now, they do have the 9th overall pick in the draft. I don't really think Kansas City got better this. Like, the Kenneth Walker's big. I think I'll go 50-50 for them throughout the draft, but they lost some note. Like, you trade away Trent McDuffie. How is this secondary going to look going forward? They do have pick 9. They do have pick 29 as well. And then they also have 40, 74, 109. It's going to be a big draft for Brett Veach here going forward. I mean, for Vegas, there's always like an offseason champion, and it's probably going to be them this year. So they don't trade Max Crosby, which I guess limits them from drafting somebody else in the first round, but you're going to bring in Fernando Mendoza. You brought in Kirk Cousins. Those guys have to be better than what Geno Smith was for them last year. You bring in Tyler Linderbaum, like, let's go. They bring in Jalen Nailor, Kwity Paye. They also bring in Quay Walker. Like, they signed a ton of guys with, I think they had the most free agency spending to allocate. You bring in Kobe Dean from the Eagles. You bring back Eric Stokes. So they didn't really lose anybody too important. Yeah, like, you really have to, like, they got better 100%. For the Chargers, I'm going to go with yes, just because I think Mike McDaniel is such a huge addition to what they're trying to build going forward. And I'm so excited about Justin Herbert with McDaniel next year. So you do lose Odafe Owe. I don't think you're losing sleep over Zion Johnson either. You bring in some offensive linemen like Strange, and you bring in a blocking tight end in Charlie Kohler. I think Keaton Mitchell is going to be kind of a beast here in LA. You have some draft picks. I think they got better. I don't think it's like by that much, but I do think they got better this offseason. For the Rams, they got better as well. You trade for Trent McDuffie. You sign Jalen Watson. You hope that, I don't know, everything's okay with Puka Nacua going forward. And you do lose like some rotational guys, but it's not the end of the world. You still have a first round pick at 13, and the caliber of player you're getting at 13 compared to 29 is going to be obviously an impactful guy. I wonder if they go like an offensive lineman. They might go I don't know. Maybe receiver. That's probably going to be the case going forward since they didn't really sign another receiver out there. Miami did not get better this offseason. Now, that's fine, and that's probably smart moving forward. I can't confidently say that Malik Willis will be better than Tua Tagovailoa last year. They had a lot of one-year signings because they didn't have a lot of cap space thanks to the previous regime. They trade away Jalen Waddle. They cut Tyreek Hill. They don't bring back Bradley Chubb. His team wasn't good last year. I mean, they went 7-10, better than you would think, but yeah, their plan is to be bad next year under John Eric Sullivan and Jeff Hafley's first year. Minnesota. Ooh, this is tough because Minnesota didn't really do a whole lot this offseason, but they addressed the most important position. Now, this is a team that does own their first round pick. It's at 18. I love the James Pierre pickup. I think that's one of the best value signings of the offseason coming from a Steelers fan. And then Kyler Murray for $1.3 million. There's a chance he's a top 10 productive quarterback next year for 1.3. That's amazing. I mean, Allen and Hargrave, previous regime, at least under Kwesi last year, you're fine moving on from those guys, I believe. Jalen Nailor, you're not paying him that type of money because you still have Jordan Addison. You still have Justin Jefferson. And they're a team that does have their first, second, and they have 2/3 this year as well. I'm going to say yes. They didn't really have the most eventful offseason, but they addressed the biggest position, most important position in quarterback. And I'm going to say that they did get better because J.J. McCarthy was that bad for them last year. So for New England, you move on from Stephon Diggs, but you bring in Romeo Doubs, you bring in Elijah Vera Tucker. If he could just stay healthy, this could be such a huge pickup. Draymond Jones as well. They lose Clavon Chason. They don't really lose that much talent outside of Stephon Diggs, and this is a team that does own most of their draft capital as well. It's just going to be at the end of the first round, but they do have 3 6-rounders, and they do have 2 4th-rounders as well. They're going to have the internal development. Not going to always go by that. They bring in Kevin Byard. I'm going to say that the Patriots got better this offseason, and then you got the draft around it. I just don't think they're going to lose that much sleep over Stephon Diggs. I think the Saints got better this offseason as well. I mean, you bring in David Edwards, like maybe not the most flashiest signing, but man, it's going to be impactful. I have no idea what's going on with Alvin Kamara because he's still on the roster, but you bring in Travis Etienne or A-Chain now, or however you say, Caden Ellis. I like that signing as well. They need another off-ball linebacker because they lose Demario Davis to the New York Jets. They do lose Alontae Taylor, so we'll see if they address like corner or something like that. But this team is also going to add the 8th overall pick in almost like every single round. I think it's the 10th in round 2 and the 9th in round 3 around Tyler Shuck moving forward. So I'm going to say the Saints got better. The Giants, I'm going to say they got better this offseason. So if they trade away Dexter Lawrence because he requested a trade, I might go back on this. The Giants are also going to have the 5th overall pick. They bring in Isaiah Likely, should be a better option than Daniel Bellinger. Greg Newsome was a nice one-year flyer. I like the Darius Washington signing. Darnell Mooney and Calvin Austin for like the price you paid. Why not? They bring in Tremaine Edmonds because they let go of Bobby Okereke. I think you're fine with Wan'Dale Robinson leaving for that price tag. Who knows if they draft a receiver. Cordell Font they could end up missing, but you replaced him with like Washington and you replaced Bellinger with Isaiah Likely. And I just think like going from Brian Daboll to John Harbaugh is going to be a huge benefit for this team. Not totally sold on Matt Nagy next year. It's going to be very interesting to see how he looks with Jackson Dart. But the fact that they're adding basically a top 5 pick in each round, and I think they were already better at that time. For the Jets, this one's kind of tough because the Jets bring in Geno Smith. I mean, better than Justin Fields, yes, but am I moved by that? No. You bring in Joseph Asai and Demario Davis at 30-something years old. Like he's in his mid-30s. He is 37. Oh, maybe he's late 30s. I like the Deshaun Wright signing. I like the Andre Sisco signing, re-signing for 1 year. You do end up losing a decent amount of your interior offensive line, right? Like you are going to have the 2nd overall pick. They're probably going to address defense with that pick. I don't think they're taking Ty Simpson there, but you also have 2 first-rounders and 2 second-rounders. And those are big departures, but Vera Tucker didn't play for them last year, and they were fine. And Michael Clemens, like addition by subtraction. Quincy Williams, I can't confidently say he would have been better than Demario Davis next year alone. You had Asai, you trade for Javondre Sweat as well. I'm going to say the Jets got better this offseason. Is that like going to make them a playoff team? No, but I do think objectively they got better. Philadelphia, I'm probably going to go with no. So Philadelphia does still have their 1st round pick. They'd sign like Reek Woolen. You sign Hollywood Brown. I mean, you bring back like Dallas Goedert, who could have left, but you lose Jalen Phillips. You lose Nakobe Dean. I don't think it's the end of the world to lose Reed Blankenship. They're a 50-50 team, actually, I'm going to go with. If they trade A.J. Brown for draft capital, like future draft capital, I think they would be a no. And like, yes, Jeff Stoutland is a big loss, but they ended up moving on from Kevin Patullo. None of their offensive linemen retired, so 50-50, the Steelers, man. So this team has a lot of draft picks in this upcoming draft. They have 1 first, 1 second. They have 3 thirds, 2 fourths. You lose Suamalo. I don't think that's the end of the world. Gainwell, for that price tag, it's whatever, because you bring in Rico Dowdle. You lose James Pierre, which I think is going to be a notable loss, but you bring in Jamel Dean, you bring in Sebastian Joseph Day, Jaquan Brisker, Darnell Savage, and Rico Dowdle. You bring in Mike McCarthy. Not really sure if that makes you that much better. I'm more excited about like Patrick Graham. I just don't know the quarterbacks. And you bring in Michael Pittman as well from a trade, and their wide receiver depth was not good. They have so many draft picks. They're a 50-50 team. Like, is Aaron Rodgers going to be their quarterback next year? Like, I don't know. I just don't want to do it again. If they bring back Aaron Rodgers, I'm putting them in no. I think if they go anybody else, I might say yes. San Francisco. So they definitely lost some guys. I mean, it's weird. Jawan Jennings has not signed anywhere, but you bring in Lowe, you bring back Greenlaw, you bring in Kirk and Mike Evans to be your receivers. You do lose Kendrick Bourne. Like, you didn't lose anybody of like huge impact from last year, I would say, where Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch are like upset about it. I mean, you're probably going to lose Jawan Jennings at one point in free agency. Who knows? Maybe he's back. They're going to probably cut Brandon Ayuk. 27th overall pick in each round. Basically, you bring in Nate Hobbs. I'm going to say the Niners, like, getting Odugiziwa was big. I think they got better this offseason, but if Trent Williams is not on this roster next year, maybe they got worse. Seattle, I mean, you win the Super Bowl, so your expectations aren't that much high or high to, like, go all out in the offseason. You bring back Josh Jobe. You bring back Rashid Shaheed. I would have rather paid Kenneth Walker that money than the Rashid Shaheed contract. I guess you got to say they got worse this offseason. I mean, like, Walker, it's like a running back, right? And Boye Mafe isn't the end-all, be-all for them. You lose a couple guys in your secondary, but you still have, like, Emmett Worry. You still have Josh Jobe and, obviously, Devon Witherspoon. I'm going to throw them in 50-50. We'll see how the draft goes. Tampa Bay, so you lose Mike Evans. You bring in Alex Anzalone. You lose Jamel Dean. You have Kenneth Gainwell, Ashawn Robinson. They don't move on from Todd Bowles. I think we're going to see how the draft goes, but I'm going to say Tampa Bay did not get better this offseason, and there could be some age regression on this roster. Tennessee is going to be a yes for me. I'm excited about Robert Saleh and Brian Daboll next year for Cam Ward moving forward. Their receiving room was not great, so you bring in Wan'Dale Robinson, John Franklin Myers on that defensive line with Jeffrey Simmons. Sure, like, let's go. Flott, Taylor. You bring in Bellinger, but you lose Chika Okonkwo, but you do have the 4th overall pick, so this could be Jeremiah Love. It could be Cardinal Tate. It could be a defensive stud, and I do think, like, coaching alone will make them better. And then lastly, Washington. They're a yes for me as well. Another team that has a top 10 pick. They're picking at number 7. They add Leo Chanel. They land Odafe Owe, Chika Okonkwo, Robertson, like, fine, but I like the Nick Cross signing. I love the Clavon Chason signing. And like Rashad White. They do need another receiver. Like, Deebo Samuel is still unsigned. I don't think there's going to be a reunion there. I like that they got younger. They didn't lose too much either. And there's a new offensive philosophy. So, to look at this in the grand scheme of things, do I want to maybe bump anybody up or down after this? Like, Buffalo and Cleveland are guys that I think are the 2 toughest ones. Maybe Atlanta as well, because I do want to take into account the Stefanski signing or hiring. For any of the 50-50 teams, I think, like, the draft matters a lot. For the Steelers, it's maybe the quarterback. For the Eagles, as long as they don't trade away A.J. Brown, I think they're going to be a yes. The Chiefs, tough as well. I think it's how they address the draft. Dallas, same thing. They have 2 first-round picks. Cincinnati, like, love for you guys to let me know down below in the comments, like, what you guys think about the 50-50 teams here. So I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you did, I'd appreciate you dropping a thumbs up. Let me know down below what you guys think, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.